And that's what we train for. Early in camp, I told Anthony, because it's not just me, it's also Angel Fernandez, and we told Anthony, look, Anthony, you might not like us during training camps. We're gonna push you to do everything we want you to do. There's gonna be days that you're gonna complain about us, and yeah, those days have been there where, oh, you guys don't give me credit for things that I do right. Well, that's good because we want you to do more. But after the fight, things that to do everything we want you to do, there's gonna be days that you're gonna complain about us, and yeah, those days have been there where, oh, you guys don't give me credit for things that I do right. Well,
what's good, family? Shout out to my doggy, Jimmy Boy Maxwell, for coming through and maxing out your man be much needed donations right now, 100%, no doubt about it. So we just heard there from Robert Garcia, a deep insider leak right now. This for me was eye-opening. Let's not forget. And really, people for a long time have said that AJ is a product. Everything you see from him is marketed. I mean, I hate to segue so early into the video, but this week, in the build-up to the Usyk versus AJ 2 fight, I didn't think nothing of it at the time, but 2-2s. Some Don in the comments said, AJ is a pure commercial product. Look at all of his videos, all of his interviews for the last week. He's got his Beats by Dre new earpiece in the whole time. What the? I didn't think, again, I've seen that the whole week, but I didn't think nothing of it. And it made me clock like, this guy's been told, put this in your ear, and before it was the headphones. I mean, who wears headphones to a press conference? You're going to be talking, you're going to be listening. You ain't going to need no headphones. Who wears earphones? Who wears headphones to interviews? Like, there's no way he's listening to music. You understand? It's like, this guy going into the biggest fight of your life, and I've used this reference before in the past, but I'll use it again. McGregor, whatever you say about him, when he was going into the Nate Diaz rematch, yeah, guess what? He told Dana, I want to do as less press as possible. He wasn't saying, oh yeah, Dana, see if you can get me a Beats by Dre contract and I'll put the beats, I'll make sure I do extra interviews, but let's put the beats ear thing in my ear so I can plug that. This guy, it just implies to me he ain't focused. If you're thinking that if your team is more focused, yeah, on putting little advertising plugs than getting the job right, and I'm sure there's some AJ fans, oh YB, oh YB, this, that, the other. Listen, I ain't trying to hear that. I'm just saying, this should be a gully thing. Yeah? All the money AJ's made, now isn't the time I want to see him focusing on getting the ad placements right. You've been had enough ad placements. How much money does a man need? It's weird. Anyway, the reason I tell you that is to say, we just heard there from an AJ insider, and he said what? He said something that is highly contradictory to the whole image that's been built. This for me is the first time I've ever heard. I mean, anyone who's followed AJ's career, yeah, we've been told since day dot, AJ loves to work hard and AJ never complains and he loves, you know what I mean? He loves to learn and whatever else. We've just heard there, Robert Garcia say, AJ was complaining that he wasn't getting enough praise. That there is diva-ish behaviour. And things are starting to add up now. I've been quite critical, and as have many other people, of Rob McCrappen. Oh, Rob's no good. Blaming it all on Rob. But now, we get an insider, potentially. AJ's like most other big ego boxers. He don't want to hear the critique. Robert Garcia just said, bear in mind people, Robert Garcia was brought in, allegedly, to critique. Robert Garcia tries to do some critiquing, and AJ is complaining, oh, you're not telling me about anything I'm doing good. The fuck? What are you? 10 years old? And what you notice about the actual best fighters in the world, they want to know how they can improve. Now, what have we heard from AJ over the years? What's the marketing machine pumped out about AJ? Oh, he loves to learn. In reality, people, put it this way. Do you think Robert Garcia's lying? Would Robert Garcia really come out here and say AJ's been complaining about not getting enough compliments if that wasn't the case? And again, it's making sense now. What do we know? What happened in the AJ vs Usyk 1 fight? Great AJ. Excellent AJ. Now, if AJ, the big money man, has been lambasting his team over the years, conditioning them, letting them know, all I want to hear is compliments, then really it's not a big shock that that's what we heard. Now obviously to us, man, on the outside it was a shock, because we've heard for years that, oh, AJ loves criticism, he loves to get better. So we're thinking, wait there a minute, a man who loves to learn and whatever else, why aren't you giving him the tips he needs, or 2-2s? It was a contradiction. And again, it's adding up at the fact that, guess what? After the fight, AJ came out and sold his team out. Oh, my team didn't tell me nothing. Which really in itself was a bit odd. Now it's even more odd when we've got good evidence now that, guess what, AJ? You know why your team didn't give you no good advice. Because you've told them you don't want to hear nothing but compliments. I'm sorry, but a 32-year-old man, yeah, shouldn't at any point be moaning about, oh, you're not telling me about anything I'm doing good. I'm sorry, AJ, yeah? There ain't nothing to report. There just ain't, I'm sorry. The good things that you can report about AJ is God-gifted. Nothing that he's really learned, I ain't gonna lie to you, in my opinion. It's all natural ability. There's very few applied skills you can watch in the Usyk 2 fight, in the Usyk 1 fight rather. A bat and big hard back, 6'6", Barlabus Nick need compliments. What are you? Again, are you a child, a 10-year-old child at local Sunday football? I bet you need one. I had to break it to you, but I've been saying for a while, this culture at the moment has gone the way of everyone gets a medal. And it seems to be that even at the top of sport, even at the undisputed or unified champion heavyweight Premier Division, even at the unified heavyweight world champion level, everyone wants to slap on the back. And that's why I know that there's something off with this AJ guy. Because from what I understand about the very top people, they don't really want to hear too much compliments. They want to hear compliments. That ain't going to help you win. It's just not. It's just not. The top, from what I've observed from the top guys, they want to hear what's wrong. And 9 times out of 10, they know what's wrong. They know that they don't need no one sucking them off. They know, you know what I'm saying? They nod their heads, say, you know what, you're right there. In fact, most of the top guys are overly critical of themselves, if you get what I'm saying. I've never seen any of the top guys really saying, oh, don't tell me what I'm doing bad, tell me what I'm doing good. That's why, honestly, that for me was a massive eye-opener. And I hate to say it, but it's really shook me to my boots of what I believed AJ to be. And that's not a throwaway comment, people. Why would Robert Garcia drop that? He only knows the man for 8 weeks. Only knowing the man for 10 weeks or whatever, for 6 months or whatever it is already putting out there that AJ, don't want to hear no criticism. And looking back on AJ's career, is it a shock now that back in 2017, after the Vlad fight, AJ told McCrappen, I don't want to have a hard fight like that again. So things are becoming more apparent now. AJ's more, which makes sense to be fair, he's more involved in this than he gives it. He makes out, oh, I didn't know, my team didn't tell me. Well, guess what? Your team didn't tell you, but you didn't have a problem telling your team that you didn't want to hear critiques, did you? Super weird.
You know what? Throughout the last 4 months that we've been together, that's what we just got to keep reminding him. Because we've had some bad days too. You know, we've had those days where he might say something that is not what we want to hear, but then we just have to change that around. You know, this last few days, this week, I told him, look, I think you're gonna be right at the right moment. You know, with the way training went.
Move on. Has that been the main focus?
You know what? Throughout the last 4 months that we've been together, that's what we just got to keep reminding him. Because we've had some bad days too. You know, we've had those days where he might say something that is not what we want to hear, but then we just have to change that around. You know, this last few days, this week,
Again, for me, a massive eye-opener. AJ's whole construction has been very positive, wanting to learn, wanting to be the best. Now we find out, and this is the thing, everyone understands that people have issues, psychologically or otherwise. But AJ's never, oh, I'm fine, I'm great, whatever. We've never heard he's ever had any issues in camp. 2-2s. Robert Garcia comes in, number 1. He tells me, all of a sudden we learn AJ doesn't like critique, doesn't like criticism, and only wants compliments. Number 2, we learn that AJ, his attitude in training camp isn't what we'd like to hear. Now, I've been to a low level in sport. I understand you're tired sometimes and you're grumpy. But I'm trying to work out What could them things be they don't really want to hear? What could you really not want to hear? Being grumpy and being tired isn't... A trainer wouldn't pick up and vocalise, we've heard some of the wrong things. I've heard... What does it take, for a trainer to say, over the last 4 months, I've heard some things that I don't really want to hear. I'm sorry, but that wouldn't be a case of, he's tired today and he's grumpy and he says he's, whatever, tired of training. In my opinion, it's much more likely to go a lot... Listen, Robert Garcia is not new to this. He will have seen a whole broad spectrum of tired fighters. I don't believe Robert Garcia would mention this about every tired fighter. This is clearly something more fundamental and deeper. Like AJ questioning, I'm sick of this. You know what I'm saying? He's actually questioning, does he really want to do this anymore? That would be something that a trainer would say, you know what, I've heard some things I'm not really too hot about. Do you understand? That's not being tired during training camp, in my opinion. I'd bet on that, in fact. Again, have you man heard any of this? Now, obviously, on this channel, we've read between the lines. We've heard AJ say, it's all about the money now. Which makes sense. It's all adding up now. I'm sorry, it's all perfectly adding up now. It's really a shame. It really is. This guy, watch his interviews, compare it to how it was in the past. He's completely checked out. You don't even really hear about him talking about wanting to be the greatest and wanting a legacy. You just don't hear... You hear him saying things he thinks people want to hear. And to be honest, I was about to say, he says things like, I'm going for the knockout, but he doesn't even say that. In one of his interviews in the last few days, he goes, I'm not going to call it a knockout, and, it's all with God now, and this guy stay talking about God 24/7. And again, if you're some holy don, that's good for you, but I analyse changes in behaviour. If AJ was... No, I'm not saying... He's always been somewhat religious, to some extent. In fact, at one point he said, I don't want to get into religion, knowing that his certain beliefs might alienate his large fan base. So, it's quite odd to me. And it's a bad look when top-level sports people all of a sudden start Bible bashing, or Quran, or whatever your flavour is. When they start licking that religious thing, it tells me they're looking for a power outside of themselves. Yeah? It's one thing if you've always been that way, then that is what it is. But when you haven't been banging that Bible thing, all of a sudden, God this, God that, praying this, praying that. What are you praying about? It's your destiny. You have to take it. If you believe in God, He can only use you as a parcel. He ain't gonna come down and do the lifting for you. I believe AJ, and I've been saying it for a while, essentially he wants something for nothing. He'd love for God, to come down and use his body as an avatar. Of course he would. Who wouldn't? I'd love God to come down and, if God could come down, and avatar my body into winning 10, undisputed heavyweight world champion, I'd take that too. Everyone would. But that's not the point. What do you want? Do you want to do it? And I haven't heard that, so I haven't. In the last X amount of time, I haven't heard that AJ wants to do it. I haven't. I've heard him pray for it to happen, which is essentially luck. I've heard him pray and hope and wish and lucky. I've done videos on it over the last week. He said, I hope my luck in Dubai or my luck in Saudi's been really good. I hope it lasts another week. What the fuck? I've been praying. Another video today. I've been praying loads this week, and there's all things ain't got nothing to do with him. What's luck got to do with it? What's God got to do with it? And then in camp we find out that really he ain't really switched on like that.
Because we've had some bad days too. We've had those days where he might say something that is not what we want to hear, but then we just have to change that around. These last few days, this week, I told him, look, I think you're gonna be right at the right moment. With the way training went, sparring partners that we had, and your mindset. Not only myself, but all the guys that are around him, they've been saying that these last couple of days, everything's, I know what I got to do. I know how hard I trained. I know what I did in the gym. The guys that are around him, they've been saying that these last couple of days, everything's, I know what I got to do. I know how hard I trained. I know what I did in the gym. I know I'm gonna go out and knock him out. So that's really the right mentality that he needs to have. And we got 3-4 days left to continue with that. Keep giving him that positive vibes. And
Now, the reason I doubled back on that particular piece was that this guy is telling us that things have only come together in the last few days. Oh, in the last few days, things have started coming together. What the fuck? Last few days? And even then, it's kind of like it was all a bit of a shock. Like it's been hope. Oh yeah, it was the last few days it started to come together. What do you mean the last few days it started to come together? So what's been happening for the last 6 months? Doubt. That's what's been happening, people. For things to come together in the last few days, that tells me that it's been hella rocky for the last. And let's not forget, AJ really has had a year. If you've had a year to get ready, yeah. Please forgive me if I don't believe you. That conveniently, bear in mind, people, these guys have got a pay-per-view to sell. He's never going to come out and say, is he, that we've had a year to prepare, we haven't been able to get it together. Yeah, AJ's head still hanging off his shoulders. He's lost his head. He ain't going to say that. And unfortunately, Robert Garcia, he ain't mixing it up like he should do, really, to be quite honest. He's being too upfront and honest, which I rate it because it's good for me, but I'm surprised AJ's team haven't vetted this. Because if I'm training someone and I tell you that things have only come together in the last few days, that's skeptical. How solid is your foundation if you've only found your head in the last few days? And again, forgive me, I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't believe that if you're going to find your head, you ain't going to find it on fight week, in my opinion. That's what you call a miracle, especially when you add in all the other factors. Robert Garcia wants us to believe that it's been rocky through camp, and then suddenly the last few days, things have come together. Meanwhile, in the last few days, all we've heard AJ talk about is God and praying, which is the contradiction. In my mind, if someone has suddenly come together in the last few days, he'd be dropping their mystical aspects and saying, you know what, I've got it. I'm the man. Yeah? God's great and luck's great, but this time, listen, luck might play a part in my career on other fights. For this one, it's about me and him. Yeah? Luck and God can stay where they are for this one. I got this one, God. You know what I'm saying? This one's on me, 100%. That's what I'd want to be hearing. So on the whole, man, this is a big, and I hope I'm wrong. You might know I ain't a hating ass dude. I'd love for AJ to go in there and smoke the guy. I'm just telling you the evidence here. And it's just not. This is one of the worst. Bear in mind, people, trainers are paid to gas the place up. This for me is one of the worst ones I've ever heard. One of the worst indictments I've ever heard. I've never heard someone sound so bad, given to what we've been used to hearing. Especially when you're adding all the other factors around it, i.e. how we've speculated on AJ's mental health or mental fortitude. You don't take a rocket scientist, people. He was in a fight with Usyk on his home turf, and he just didn't want it like that. He just didn't want it like that. Simple as that. And now we're hearing he's only just found his head in the last few days. I mean, how many of you, man, believe that? I'm sure there's some AJ Man fans. Oh, why be you hating? Of course he's found his head conveniently. What? Why couldn't you get him to that point? And I was saying for a long time. I mean, I remember saying back in October, there's no reason this guy's head, in my opinion, you should be in gully mode. Your head should be on for the whole camp, if not before the camp. If you can't get your head on your shoulders, yeah, after losing all your shit in front of your home fans, you ain't never gonna get it. And that's my point. If that fight against Usyk didn't end, and that's the thing, we knew AJ weren't on it like that. Look at the post-fight press conference. Oh, I'm really happy with that, and I can't wait to get back to training in the gym. There was nothing there. There's nothing there. There was nothing. None of that top-level competitive hatred was there. Do you know what I'm saying? Nothing. It just wasn't there. It wasn't there in the fight. It wasn't there after the fight. It's not there before the next fight. Put it this way, yeah. If you get beaten, embarrassed on your home turf, What's God got to do with it? You get beat up and embarrassed on your home turf, and you're talking about how and all you got to mention is how Saudi Arabia's been lucky, and you hope your luck extends some more. Fuck. You can't. I'm sorry, people. You can't. That don't exist in someone who's supremely confident. I'm not even asking for him to be supremely confident. We're asking for him to be supremely motivated. You can be nervous, yeah, but be thinking, man, I'm not sure if I'm going to win this one, but what I do know is I'm leaving it all out there. I'm not sure if I can beat Usyk, but what I am sure of doing, that's all you can do is control it. And that's what if I was in the camp, yeah, we wouldn't have focused on nothing else. We wouldn't have focused on winning. We'd have focused on a lot in top level sport or in sport in general. A lot of the place where nervousness comes from is because life's uncertain. You can't control the outcome. All you can control is your own actions. All AJ can do is go in there and leave it all out there. Listen, I've been saying this for a while. If I was training AJ, honestly, I'd have said, listen, let's go. Let's not even think about 12 rounds, man. Let's go in there and let's call this a 7-round fight. Yeah, because we're gonna go in there and we're gonna give it what we got for 7 rounds. And if it don't play out after 7, then what's the alternative? Go in there and get boxed up anyway. You might as well go out there. At least then you lost with some pride. At least then, and even commercially speaking, at least you're retaining some value. Do you understand? People will watch that. If people know, yeah, commercially, if people know, listen, AJ might not win, but we know he's gonna come and give us 6. That everyone can back that. And for all we know, people like Usyk wouldn't be able to take 6 anyway. Look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's career, for the most part, was based on the first 3 to 6. And if after that, he lost. Do you understand? The most successful careers really are based on the first half. And looking at AJ's makeup, trying to change him from a AJ, in my opinion, always should have been a first 6 fighter. Rather than these weird ass trainers, no. Even though he's a first 6 fighter, let's turn him into a 15 round. Let's not forget that. Before the Ruiz 2, I'm a 15 round fighter now. Fucking hell. Boring. Ain't no one trying to watch that. This ain't. Ain't no one trying to watch one of the buffest nicks they've ever seen be a 15 round fighter. They just ain't trying to see that. And now he's so confused. It's all, I don't know, man. Anyway, I hope I'm wrong. But this ain't good. This ain't a good look at any level. Bottom line, he looked mentally broken to me. He looks, and this is, bear in mind, people. RYB, your analysis is biased against AJ. Fine. Forget what AJ said over the last week. Forget about all the hoping, praying, and luck he's been talking about. His own trainer has aired him out. Robert Garcia is not being spiteful here. He's just letting slip. Bottom line, there's no way Robert Garcia should be speaking like this, in my opinion. I mean, we just got it together in the last few days. Fucking hell. You've just got it together. You've had 6 months together, and you've only managed to get it together in the last few days. No one believes that. No one with a brain believes that. Isn't that convenient? Oh, what? You couldn't get his head on his shoulders for 6 months, but conveniently in fight week, the most pressured time. I'm telling you now, if your head ain't straight on fight week, going into fight week, it's never. I'm sorry, but I'd bet my life that competitive or in top level sport, yeah, people who have a dodgy mind in fight week, you ain't never gonna have an epiphany in fight week. Your head's either straight and you're on it, or you're not. No one, I guarantee you, if we could do some experiment, I guarantee you, not one person in the history of sport ever went from dodgy to great in fight week. Fight week only make things worse. But Robert Garcia is a legend. This is the first miracle time. The first time someone's gone from dodgy to A1. I don't believe it, but we'll see. And I said to people, I've got some coin on AJ, but I'll be watching the first round and I'll be jumping out. If after the first round, we just fight simple, man. If after the first round, or maybe I'll give him 2 rounds. I'll let him settle in for the first round, and the second round, it should be real clear. If after the second round, I mean, to be honest, even in the first round, yeah, if we see AJ come out and he's trying to box, I'm jumping out straight away. He ain't going to win that fight. It's over. It's a wrap for him. And I got a feeling that's what we'll see. Because A man who's hoping on luck, yeah, ain't going out there and throwing his hands. He just ain't. A man hoping for luck. AJ think he's gonna go out there and magically win a safe points decision. That's what he wants to do.